Soft closed doors. It's luxury. You join me inside the cabin of the 2019 Bentley Bentayga Speed. This is presently tied as the world's fastest SUV, and this one as tested is 273 grand. So 190 miles an hour, 273 grand. We've got some big numbers here today, and we're gonna do a detailed look at the exterior, interior, and then I'm gonna take it for a drive and give you some of my impressions. Have you subscribed yet? Because it really sounds like you should. And there it is. The Bentley Bentayga Speed coming at you. This one is in extreme silver. And it has a couple packages that I will talk about in a minute. But first, I do have a POV drive and a walk around for this vehicle that are live on the channel right now. And later I will have a POV night drive, so be sure to check those out. And I would be a huge fan of yours if you became a fan of mine. In other words, subscribing to the channel. And last but not least, those of you who have been subscribed for a while and maybe really like the content, want to support the channel, I do have a Patreon account, so I'll be sure to link all those in this video description. And I do offer some cool things with the Patreon, so don't write it off completely. It's got some fun stuff for you. But let's get right into this Bentley Bentayga Speed, because it is a pretty sweet SUV. And this is coming right off of spending a week with the Jeep Grand Cherokee Trackhawk, another ultra high performance SUV. A couple weeks before that, we had the Mercedes-AMG GLS 63. So we've had quite a few of these 600 plus horsepower Uber SUVs, but this Bentley is special even among those because it really targets this ultra luxury segment of the market. I explained that this one was in extreme silver, that is the paint scheme. It also has the Centenary spec. Bentley calls all of their packages specs. So as I say spec throughout this review, just keep that in mind. I basically just mean package. The Centenary spec means that all of the Bentley badges have a gold accent to them, along with this date stamp, 1919 to 2019. That's Bentley's 100-year anniversary, their centenary. They were formed in 1919, and this model year is 2019, so it's got the 2019 stamped on the other part of it. Here's another example of that, 1919, 2019, and gold accents abound. And I didn't just not actually close the door because this has soft closed doors. You can get close and it'll close it the rest of the way for you. More gold accents and then speed badging. Okay, but let's go back to the front. We'll do this one thing at a time. We'll start with the front end. So the Bentley Bentayga has been around for a couple of years now. I was actually at the reveal of this in Beverly Hills, and when I first saw it, I didn't love it. I really didn't. I felt that it didn't, in the same way that the Cullinan didn't really blow me away when I first saw that, I felt like they didn't translate the Bentley panache into an SUV form. I'm still coming around on its design a little bit, but the more time I spend with it, the more angles I view it from, the more I start to appreciate its design. This Speed is intended as the range-topping version of the Bentayga, meaning it has the most power, the most exclusivity, and in this case, you're going to distinguish the Speed from the other Bentaygas a few different ways. One, it has some dark accents for these headlights. Notice the Bentley name spelled out. Love that little detail on the headlights. This dark trim for the mesh grille. It's a very faint dark, especially contrast to this paint color. You're like, oh, is that really dark? Yes, it is dark. It's just barely so. But it's a nicely meshed grille. Doesn't look cheap at all. The Bentley crest looks fantastic as always, and I really do think the gold accents help it stand out a little bit. More meshing down here in the front air dam. This front splitter is unique to the Speed. and it's mirrored by a couple other flourishes of the bodywork that I'll point out as we go around. Every piece of ventilation apart from this, from the fog light out, is real ventilation, so real venting in the grille. Everything else has to cool that W12 engine. Such a big engine, so much power. You gotta get good airflow into it. So that's the front end. I think it definitely has presence. It's not my favorite design element, but it does stand out for sure. We come to the side and we see standard 22-inch wheels. This one has them dark tinted. And again, when Bentley says dark tinted, it's very faint. It's not that gunmetal gray that you're seeing on other cars. It's just lightly dark. But I do like the design of these 22-inch wheels. It flows very well with the design of the vehicle. Let's get you a full profile view. And we'll come back over to the wheels for a sec to point something out. So, optionally available on the Bentayga Speed and on the Bentayga V8 are 17.3-inch carbon ceramic brake rotors with huge calipers. And the 17.3-inch rotors are, what Bentley says, the largest fitted to a production vehicle. This one does not have that option. So it's using steel rotors, but the braking power is still very phenomenal. You can see how big these brakes are, even within these intricate wheels. They start up there, and the calipers end down there. So they're really, really big, and these are huge rotors, but you can get bigger brakes, and some would argue you need them because this vehicle is bordering on 6,000 pounds. Very heavy. You can see your first speed badge over here. There are a couple speed badges that I'll point out on the car. This is the side sill that mirrors that front splitter and is distinct on the Speed. Body color matching as the front. And here's the biggest character of the car right here. This character line that dips up from nowhere to come out and flare this rear haunch. I think it looks really good. I think it's actually the best part about the Bentayga's design. It's the thing that draws the eye. And I mean, I love this paint color on this car, especially with the gold and the 22-inch wheels. But that design cue stands out the most with a paint color like this. You get something like black, yes, it's going to stand out, or white, it's really not going to stand out. But on this paint color, it really works. And then we can get to the back. You can see how it goes all the way right into the taillight here. It's a strong, strong design cue on the Bentayga. And of course your eye is drawn immediately to this big roof-mounted spoiler. That's honking. I guess you need it because this thing can do 190 miles an hour. It's tied for the world's fastest SUV. This and the Urus are right there at 190 miles an hour. So even though some people may call it garish, it's certainly functional. You got to keep a big SUV like this on the ground, firmly planted. Then you've got these Bentley, another B, backwards B taillights. I actually love the taillights. I think they look great. The rear end, well, sort of like the front, doesn't really blow me away. Down here, this rear diffuser is also part of the Speed package and it makes it distinct along with the oval exhaust ports. That's the signature of Speed cars, Bentley Speed cars. They've got these oval exhausts, and this retuned exhaust for the Bentayga Speed makes a really nice noise. You have to kind of get it out of the car. You put it in sport mode to make that noise, but it does make a good noise. Akrapovic, I believe I pronounced that wrong. Akrapovic retuned the exhaust. You'll probably know them from making motorcycle exhausts, but hey, they make their way around to cars as well. So that is the exterior design of the Bentayga Speed. So let's rev it a little bit because we got to hear that. And then we'll get into the interior. Sound good? Prepare to be dazzled by the interior of the Bentley Bentayga Speed. There are all sorts of goodies in here, most of which are standard to the Speed, some of which are optional. I will discuss the options as we go through it. One of the first standout options that you're going to see is this carbon fiber trim on this dashboard and the centerpiece here. Actually, two individual options, but totaling about $5,000 just for trim. It is mirrored on the doors. Another one you're going to see is the dark red, it's almost a wine color, contrast stitching throughout the cabin, on the seats, in the door inserts. Interestingly enough, not on the center console. This is a darker gray, not the red from the seats. But it does end up on the dashboard. That is an option. As is the front seat comfort package. So these front seats are not just heated, they are also ventilated. They have massaging functionality with a number of different massage choices. I can show you that in the infotainment. And multiple adjustments. So you can adjust these bolsters, the side bolsters. And these bolsters here, you have extra cushy headrests. Bentley has a name for it. I don't recall the name. They're just extra cushy to me. The Speed embroidery on the seats, that's standard, but it's in red if you get the contrast stitching. And there is also a touring package, which amounts to a head-up display, adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, a lot of your active safety features. Those are part of the touring package. And I forgot one last thing. The Naim, that's really its name, Naim, N-A-I-M, for Bentley 22 speaker sound system. As I said before, I am not a speaker expert. I've said in previous reviews that I'm not a speaker expert. I just know if it's good or bad. This is a good sound system. I give it my thumbs up. But that is a $5,000 option. So audiophiles, tune in for that. But apart from those options, let's talk about how comfortable it is. The details in this cabin are fantastic. I will go first to something simple. These air vents, they could just be in a brushed metal finish, but Bentley went a step further to add a knurled finish within the air vents. So if for some reason you have to touch these, need to adjust the angle, you're going to get a little bit of pleasure because you're touching a knurled finish. There's also knurled finish on the air vent openers, which you press and pull to open or close. I love that. I love little tactile details, and this car is full of them. You'll also notice the Alcantara in certain places, like the seat inserts. Oh, one more place where the seat can be adjusted. This can roll out to give you thigh support. But the Alcantara is the first time we're seeing Alcantara in a Bentley Bentayga. Send out the press release now. There's Alcantara in a Bentley Bentayga. I realize it's not for fanfare necessarily, but it is kind of cool to see that Alcantara is a sportier thing for sporty or supercars. Cannot speak right now. But here it is in a super SUV. There's also Alcantara wrapping for the steering wheel along with leather insert. And if you don't like Alcantara, Bentley says you can just swap it for leather. Don't worry. You can swap it for leather and there's no cost. In fact, there's also Alcantara for the headliner and these sun visors. The quilting with the contrast stitching is a really nice touch. Looks very luxurious. Real metal trim in places. Doesn't look or feel cheap really anywhere. I haven't found one thing that I'm like, yeah, that's cheap. Nothing stands out in this vehicle as cheap, and that's good because it's $243,000 to start. Memory seats and your rear hatch opening there, and that looks like a pretty large water bottle opening, but is it large enough for a large water bottle? Let's find out. Well, we know it fits in the glove box, but who cares? How about the cup holders? No, it does not fit there. Center console. That's going to be too small. And it is. But the door pockets, they look pretty good size. Is it going to work? Ooh, it's kind of. Yes. Yes, it kind of fits. All right, Bentley Bentayga, you get a barely pass, but you do pass the large water bottle test. Back to the details. As I mentioned, everything looks high quality. I forgot about one option. This is a quote-unquote deep pile carpeting. So think thick carpets. I love thick carpets. I don't know why, but it feels so much more luxurious. They do offer lamb's wool if you want to go a step further, but I think thick carpets are enough. That's sound deadening. That's weight. That's luxury right there. But let's hop in and get to some other stuff. All right, let's do a quick 180 of the car. Note the ridiculously large sunroof. I mean, that thing is massive. Boy, the world just got really quiet in here, didn't it? It's because they've got acoustic glass and very good cabin insulation. But more details. The Bentley crest, and because it's the Centenary spec, you've got gold around there. There's gold on the B, on the gear selector. More knurled finish. Look at that, with a little Alcantara strip in there. And this thing is just, that's meaty. That's a meaty gear selector. I'm going to shift into drive. There's also gold on this key, which is a weapon. This thing is so hefty. That's what that key looks like. Hefty. More carbon fiber for this centerpiece here. Or maybe it was carbon fiber for all parts up there, and then this is an additional. I mentioned that it was 2 packages, so this is probably the additional carbon fiber piece that you can add. All of your drive modes, which I will get into a bit later. Little red accents with metal borders. That's what I love. More metal borders, I recall, up here on the grab handles. So it's not just a leather-wrapped centerpiece, and this isn't even, that's the thing what I mean about there isn't cheapness anywhere. This isn't even cheap plastic. It's plastic, but it does not feel or look cheap. Then you've got the metal border for the leather there. The dials are gorgeous. They're like little jeweled pieces. So you've got nice chrome borders that, again, does not look cheap. You get into a Chrysler and it's got chrome borders, it looks cheap. You know that's going to scratch and look awful in a day. This does not. Just beautiful little things, along with the orange accents for the dials. For the needles, I should say. And an orange red line. Isn't that oxymoronic? You do have a digital instrument cluster there. It's not a fully digital display, which I actually prefer because this is like jewelry right here. You're looking at jewelry. So you don't need to have fully digital when you've got such beautiful gauges. If they were really cheap looking, yeah, I'd want full digital. But you've got some things that you can swap through here. I'm not going to go through them all. Your navigation, which this cracks me up. So it's Audi, Volkswagen, they all share the same, some of the same parts. So these steering wheel controls are pulled straight from an Audi, but they added extra knurled finishes here to distinguish it, so you're not going to confuse it. But this whole orientation here is pulled from an Audi. So in the Audi with its virtual cockpit, you can press the view button and it will completely take over the screen with the navigation. You press the view button here and nothing happens because it's not set up for this particular digital instrument cluster. Just a little detail that you'll note if you get in and out of the Audi product. And because this is an SUV with all-wheel drive, and you're going to take it off-road, which you'll never do, they're giving you off-road information there that is mimicked here. But that just cracks me up. You can also see which drive mode you're in, the B over there, and which height of your air suspension you're in, off to the left. So I already showed you some of these controls. They feel so good. I am such a tactile person and they feel so good. You've got your little paddles back here. Yes, they're diminutive because even though this is a super SUV, these can't just stand out garishly. They have to blend in. But once again, they have texture on the back. texture on the back. This is someone sitting there thinking, everything this driver touches, I want them to feel special. Leather for this centerpiece here. This is almost always metal or plastic. Here in the Bentley Bentayga, that is leather, along with a nice metal piece beneath that. More of these really cool air vent opening and closings, and then a Breitling clock with the orange needles and more knurled finish for the outside. But that's just a really beautiful centerpiece put up on the dashboard. And then we get to the infotainment. And here the vibes are brought down, pardon me, a little bit, because I already mentioned that, you know, Volkswagen owns Bentley and Audi, and that means that this 8-inch infotainment, which is small by today's standards, is shared with Volkswagen products. 20-something thousand dollar vehicles have the same infotainment. Bentley did rework the menu structure a little bit and the graphics and the the pictures you're seeing on the screen, but it's the same software. And so you go into this, and first of all, the resolution isn't the absolute best. The graphics aren't the absolute best. It's not the fastest system out there. But then you go in and you're just like, oh, it's just a Volkswagen setup. That's a little annoying. I mentioned that the duplication of all-terrain modes would be here. If you want to raise or lower the vehicle, you can do so here. Or you can click the car, and then you can easily just up or down to raise or lower the suspension. There is also a control in the trunk that I will show you in a moment that will allow you to lower the trunk so it makes it easier to put in luggage. And then this tells you which driving dynamics mode you're in. Anything else worth showing in here? I won't spend too much more time on the infotainment. It does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, a Wi-Fi hotspot also. So it's got, it's got the important things, but it's really pretty rudimentary by today's cutting-edge technology standards. We can come down here and see options for seat ventilation or heating. There are 3 levels for the ventilation and heating, or you can put it on auto mode. Heating, same deal. You can put it on auto. And then where you want the air to go, of course, these are your temperature adjustments. You can slide it on up or down. I like that it makes a nice audible click when you've adjusted it, so you know that it's doing its job. And that just sounds like luxury right there. I don't know why. It just sounds like luxury. Of course, you have dual zone auto climate control. You actually have quad zone auto climate control because there are settings for those back there. I won't spend too much more time on that. It does not have a wireless smartphone charging pad. Auto hold, always important. Parking assistance. Yes, this vehicle does have parking assistance for both your sensors, and it will help you parallel or perpendicular park. Off-road modes. I mentioned that because this is an all-wheel drive vehicle, they assume that you will go off-road. No, they don't. They know you won't, but they give you the option. A few different drive modes here. We've got the Bentley mode, which is Bentley's term for normal. It is their average everyday mode. It senses whether you need performance or comfort, and it will switch between the two. The sport mode, that was one of the things that was recalibrated for the Bentley Bentayga Speed, and it's retuned so it gives you sharper steering response, sharper throttle response, quicker shifts, all that good stuff, and then of course the exhaust note that you want out of that W12. So I leave it in sport mode a lot of the time because it doesn't actually disturb ride quality at all. Comfort mode, if you just want to be plush all the time, which is not wrong at all in a Bentley. Custom mode, which will allow you to adjust certain things independently, the throttle response independent from the steering. You get the idea. And then a few different off-road drive modes. So it's calling this one snow and grass, dirt and gravel, mud and trail, and sand. What those are going to do is adjust the air suspension, adjust the traction control system, and the throttle response such that it can get you through certain obstacles off-road. Maybe you're going to go dune crawling with this. I'm not sure. And then I already showed you the raising and lowering of the suspension. That about does it for this front cockpit area. I'm going to move to the back. Another speed badge there on the carbon fiber background. Ceramic sunroof, along with your sunshade should you want it. It takes too long to do this, so I'm not actually going to go all the way. But I'll show you the sunroof opening while the sunshade is closing. Look at that. You can do both at one time. Everything is on the time of luxury. We'll get there eventually. Okay, last couple things to go over. Mentioned the sun visors. Well, they're wrapped in Alcantara. And you know what? They don't slide. They don't slide. Bentley will sell you a sun package that will give you an additional sun visor here, but they will not have this piece slide. I don't know why. Don't know why. Let's see. We can see the head-up display from here. It's got a little bit of information. It will also show you when you're on the road the speed limit of the environment. But it's not a massive head-up display. Just gives you enough information. And now let's go on to the rear compartment. Let's watch those soft closed doors one more time. Boom. Now, because this is a 2019 and not a 2020 model year, we have 5 seats. But as of the 2020 model year, you can only get the Bentayga in 2 flavors, either a 4-seat configuration or a 7-seat configuration. So you would have these 5 seats plus 2 more back yonder, which is not a huge area. So I would not, first instinct, want a 7-passenger vehicle, or want 7 passengers in my Bentley Bentayga Speed, rather. More of the quilting and contrast stitching, more of the carbon fiber, all that good stuff. Leather everywhere, the red, the Naim sound system. More Alcantara inserts for the seats, quilting up here, speed badging, squishy headrests. And then, let's show off what the legroom situation's like. So I have that in a very comfortably laid back seating position. And as you can see, I have ample legroom. 6 feet tall, plenty of knee room, nice big foot pockets under there to squish my feet under, so I can really kind of recline and relax. Speaking of reclining, these seats can be pushed back, so you pull up on this lever, and the backs can adjust to that angle, which gives you a little more recline. Close those doors so you don't have the traffic going on behind us. Soft closed doors doing their thing. But yeah, I'm lounging back here. I am lounging. Even with the seats not reclined, I have plenty of headroom. Even though this panoramic sunroof here is recessed deeply from the roof. Some cars' panoramic sunroofs actually add headroom, some they detract from it. In this case, it seems like it's just a wash. But more of the details, we've got leather on the grab handles in the back. No texturing for the lights. Missed opportunity, Bentley, but you do have a coat hook. A really nice coat hook. And we're starting to see some of the mood lighting for this vehicle. Some of that here in this darker portion of the rear seats. But there's mood lighting all over and many different color settings for your mood lighting. I'm sorry I didn't show those yet, but there are mood light settings up there. And then we get to this piece back here, which you can take out because everyone needs a digital device if they're sitting in the back seat of an Uberlux machine. So you've got a few different things you can do. You can check on what the vehicle's been doing, what speed you're going, the outside temperature. You can just see what time it is via a really cool clock. You can adjust where the air is flowing, and these are rear heated seats, so you can make those do their thing. Home, James. Climate control, you can adjust that from here. Yes, there aren't like actual buttons or anything. The climate control settings are all in this little tablet, which you can keep in there, or you can just individually adjust them. You make the volume go up. You can adjust what the entertainment is going on, what's going on with the entertainment up there. And then when you're done, you just plop it right back into where it goes and it locks itself in place. You don't have USB ports or USB-C ports, but you do have 12-volt DC sockets with more knurled finish. So somehow it's less insulting that they don't have USB ports because they have knurled finishes on them. More of this red stitching with the chrome borders, more of the push vents. Get a look at that front cabin from back here. Looks very nice. And this panoramic sunroof is very large. What's going on in here? Well, just a couple cup holders. Nothing to get excited about. But let's go to the trunk and see what we got going on there. Oh, and if you want to fold these seats flat, that same lever that you use to recline the seats, you pull and they fold forward. They actually don't go all the way flat. There's a bit of an angle there. And so when, soft close, thank you. Open that bad boy up. Come over here and fold the rest of these seats down. Really, I kind of have to give it hell to get it to go flat too. It has to lock in place. But now you can see there is a generously sized cargo area. I will put the spec of the size of the full available cargo space now because I cannot remember it off the top of my head. It's 60 something question mark. This thing's pretty neat. You can adjust this gate to come back here to keep your luggage in place. The way you do that is pop this bad boy out, you bring it over, you unhook that, you bring that over to this rail here, then you pop this into place, and now your luggage isn't going to go all over the place. But because they're sliding, you can put the gate at any point along the cargo area. No power adjustments for the rear seats. That's pretty interesting, along with no option to even fold the seats from here. As I mentioned, because you have to push and lock them into place, this is a blank switch, so you would imagine that there are power seat controls, but not on this vehicle, even though it is, as tested, $273,000. But you don't have power rear seat adjustments. That strikes me as odd. But you do have adjustments for the suspension, so you can hit this button and it lowers from the position it was in to a new position. That's dropped low. Make it so much easier to put in your stuff. Look at that. Look at that stance. Load your bags easily, would you? And then you can simply raise it by pressing the other button and it comes on up. Get your butt off the floor, Bentley. And up we go. And we're there. Close it up here. And you're off to the races. All right, let's go drive this bad boy and put that W12 engine to use. I've beaten around the bush long enough. It's time to talk about this W12 engine. Not V12, W12. The cylinders are configured like this, not like this or that. Yes, 12 cylinders of awesome. Basically 2 V6s mashed up right next to one another with 6 liters of displacement, twin turbos, and in the case of the Bentayga Speed, making 626 horsepower. That's a lot of power. Oh boy. Fudge. That pulls you forward in a hurry. In a hurry. 0 to 60, 3.8 seconds. As quoted by Bentley, it's faster according to independent tests from publications like Car and Driver. The top speed, this one's a good one, 190 miles an hour. It's tied for fastest SUV in the world with the Lamborghini Urus. That is so fast. I shouldn't have to tell you that, but it's so fast in a vehicle with this center of gravity, an SUV center of gravity, and the aerodynamics of a brick house. It's crazy. It's just beating the air into submission with W12 power. I love it. The Speed version of the Bentayga earns its name because it gets an extra 26 horsepower over the standard 6-liter W12. That's a weird thing to say. That was a Ferrari. Not sure which one, 488 maybe? It gets its name because of that extra 26 horsepower and some retuning of the components like the active anti-roll bars, which are controlled by a 48-volt electric system. This sport drive mode that gives you the pops and bangs now with the Akrapovic tuned exhaust. Let's give you some of those. Oh yeah, that was good. Pop, pop. So those are the things that you get refiddled with the Speed version from a dynamic standpoint. I've already shown the stylistic changes. Really though, the person who chooses the Speed over the other version, well, maybe not the same person who chooses the Speed over the, hybrid V6 entry level, because I would not choose that. You can get a hybrid V6 version of the Bentayga, and something about that just sounds wrong with a vehicle of this level. 166,000, in fact, for your hybrid V6. That's the entry level for the Bentayga. But then you can upgrade from there to the twin-turbo V8, which makes 540-ish horsepower. And then from there, the standard 6-liter W12, which makes 600 horsepower. But the person who chooses the Speed is the individual that just wants the top. They just want the best of the range. They want to stay Bentley, but they want the best of the range. I doubt they really care that it's going to be a little sharper in corners, and it goes that extra 3 miles per hour top speed faster, 187 to 190 now, and it gets the extra 26 horsepower. I doubt that they care about those things. They just want the top of the range. But whether you care about the little tweaks or not, they do add up to something. So in sport mode, the throttle response is much sharper. The steering does give me a little more feedback, and I love the sound of that exhaust. And then the ride quality, even though I'm in a sport mode, isn't harsh. So I'm gonna go over a bump here. Oh. And I knew I went over a bump, but I definitely didn't feel it as harsh in any way. But if I put it in complete comfort mode, now I'm still on a road with bumps, oh, things just mellow out so nicely. So getting the hardcore version of the Bentayga does not rob you of any of the luxury that this vehicle offers. But the Bentayga Speed does have a number of rivals in this space. And, I'll go back to the driving dynamics in a second because I want to talk more about the fact that it weighs so much and how it compares as a handling vehicle to some of its rivals. But let's just talk about this super SUV space. Because when you talk about the Bentayga, you also need to talk about ultra-luxe models like the Rolls-Royce Cullinan, which, I think is going to have the edge in terms of ride quality. I drove the Cullinan, and much like every other Rolls-Royce I've driven until now, it has that magic carpet ride, which is just a branded term for pillowy soft. It is so plush to drive that vehicle. So if you want the Rolls-Royce experience, you're going to go with the Cullinan. The Bentley Bentayga isn't far off, but it still doesn't have the edge of that Cullinan. But then the Cullinan costs $327,000. Okay, it's a lot of money. You also now have the Mercedes Maybach GLS 600 that's coming out. That's going to make 550 horsepower, and it's just going to be a much more luxurious version of the GLS. That will cost $200,000, so a relative deal by comparison to the Cullinan. And the Cullinan I didn't mention because Rolls-Royce doesn't like to quote its horsepower figures because who cares? But it makes 563 horsepower, I believe. 0 to 60 for the Maybach, 4.5 seconds. 0 to 60 for the Cullinan, about the same, 4.5 seconds. Now, if you want to go to the sportier end of the segment, you have the upcoming Aston Martin DBX, which is going to make 542 horsepower, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Me editing this, if I'm wrong. And 0 to 60 will be 4.3 seconds. It will cost $192,000. So again, a relative deal by comparison. Then there is the Lamborghini Urus. And the Urus is an interesting one. Pause. I'm going to show you the turning radius of this because this is pretty good. That's very impressive for a vehicle of this size. There was a pretty tight corner. You couldn't see it. I'm impressed. You should know how impressive it is based on how impressed I am. So Lamborghini Urus, 641 horsepower from a twin-turbo V8. Top speed is tied with this Bentayga at 190 miles an hour. 0 to 60 though, the Bentayga Speed does it in 3.8, as quoted by Bentley. Independent sources have seen faster, like 3.5 seconds. The Urus quotes 3.6. Other sources are seeing as low as 3 seconds flat. That's obscene for an SUV. Again, weighing more than 5,000 pounds, having a higher center of gravity, just to do that is bonkers. But that is clearly on the sportier, edgier side of the segment. It looks edgier, whether you like it or not. The design, I can't say I'm necessarily a huge fan. I think the translation of Lamborghini super sharp styling to an SUV is awkward at best. But that's your spread of super luxe SUVs. The Urus, I didn't mention, starts at $211,000. So you've got that spread all over the place. The power's kind of all over the place. The Bentayga Speed, therefore, with its $237,000 starting figure, fits pretty neatly in that segment. It's on the higher end, certainly not Rolls-Royce territory, but it's on the higher end. But what you're getting is a pretty spectacular blend of sportiness and luxury. It's very close to the Cullinan in terms of ride quality. I'm gonna go up to the same bump I hit when I was in sport mode, and I could feel it a little bit. Oh, float over the river. That thing is, I don't know what I just said. It's super soft. But then with that power, you put it in sport mode, it really gets up and goes. You in no way feel like this is only on one end or the other of the segment. It fits neatly within the two. And now I'm going to talk about how it handles in a corner, and that is impressively. Because of that active anti-roll bar system and the way that the 48-volt electric system just turns it on in fractions of a second, it really does handle remarkably well and stays pretty darn flat in corners. Another bump in sport mode. It stays pretty darn flat, and the all-wheel drive system does its job. The 8-speed automatic shifts right through those gears very quickly. It feels like a performance SUV. You forget what you're driving for just a second and enjoy a canyon road. Not that I think Bentley Bentayga drivers, even the speed drivers, are going to be going and hunting for canyon roads, but if they found themselves in one, they could really enjoy it. It feels very much like a cut above in SUVs. I'm really impressed. The design of this vehicle is still not going to be my favorite. It started to grow on me a little bit, and the technology, yeah, it's a little dated. This infotainment needs to be updated, and I imagine that's coming soon for Bentley to stay kind of on the cutting edge of all the things that it offers. That infotainment's going to have to be updated. But keeping the analog things analog, keeping these gauges as beautiful and jewel-like as they are right now is so important. Continuing your luxury brand in now a segment that everyone wants. Everyone wants an SUV. The Bentley Bentayga is showing up. It's relevant. It's doing a great job. I'm really impressed with this vehicle, far more so than I expected to be. The specs certainly are impressive, but when you get behind the wheel, you have that same Bentley ultra high-end experience, but then it also sets your hair on fire, as I will now demonstrate. Oh, yeah. Gosh, it picks up speed. It really does. Not going to tell you how fast that was. The performance is there, and the luxury is certainly there. The Bentley Bentayga is a winner, in my opinion, if you have the money. If you are so well endowed, consider the Bentley Bentayga Speed. Hate ending at stoplights. I'm doing it again. Nope. We're moving. Didn't end it here. Changing lanes, accelerating. Ending it here.